Good afternoon, and welcome to the United States Navy Memorial and the promotion ceremony for Rear Admiral Select Larry LeGree. I'm retired Navy Admiral, Rear Admiral Frank Thorpe, President and CEO of the United States Navy Memorial, and it's my honor to host the first virtual promotion ceremony ever done at the Navy Memorial. I'd like to welcome the many admirals and generals and family and friends that join us today. There's actually no audience here at the Navy Memorial. Everybody has joined us online, and we're so honored that you could join us today. You know, promotion ceremonies are one of the most important things we do in the Navy. They recognize the selection by Navy leadership of individuals for the next promotion rank, and they show the confidence and the potential that the leadership has for what they will do in future years as they lead the United States Navy. Promotions are not awards for past performance. In fact, they're quite the opposite. They're a recognition of that potential that they will be able to serve and lead in the United States Navy. They're a selection of the best qualified, just the best qualified people that can lead our Navy. And these ceremonies are a big deal. That's why we do so many of them here at the Navy Memorial. We've done thousands of promotion ceremonies here at the Navy Memorial in the theater. But under this pandemic, we just can't do that. But it's so important that we decided to do it virtually. We'll do it online so that all of Larry's family and friends can enjoy it. We've followed all the navies and the federal governments and the local Washington, D.C. jurisdiction for social distancing in this time of pandemic. We haven't touched anything that somebody else has touched. The social distancing rule, we extended it to 10 feet, so we're 10 feet away. You know, the Navy Memorial wouldn't have it any different. And actually, I guess Larry and Marina wouldn't have it any different either. So we've not gathered in small groups. We've cleared all our surfaces, just like I said. And unfortunately, because of the virus, Larry's daughters, Emily and Natalie, can't be here with us today, but they're watching online just like everybody else, so they're a part of this ceremony as well. So without further ado, I'm gonna walk back over there, and I'm gonna bring Larry on to continue the rest of this ceremony. So ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor, truly my honor, to introduce Rear Admiral Select Larry LeGree.
Thank you, Admiral Thorpe. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today here at the Navy Memorial. Today you'll see a traditional ceremony conducted in a slightly non-traditional manner. Frankly, I did not initially intend to hold a public promotion ceremony, given the times our nation and world are facing. But the Navy is a traditional service, and traditions matter, as Admiral Thorpe alluded to. My thinking has come around, and I believe there's no more important time to demonstrate that our Navy and our military remains committed to service tied to traditions that haven't changed in 244 years. Today I'm wearing the same uniform that we did 244 years ago. We are committing ourselves to the same type of service now as our forebears did then. Stability of this institution, the U.S. Navy, and the U.S. military seems like a good thing in these days. That's why we're doing this here today. First, this will be our first event of this sort. Hopefully not our last. I am a ship captain by trade, not a public speaker. So I sincerely hope that my lack of eloquence is not mistaken for lack of sincerity here today. And while, of course, I'm pleased that this first attempt at a virtual ceremony happens to be for my rather unexpected promotion, I'm even more pleased that this capability now exists, and that the Navy Memorial has volunteered to serve as a bridge for shipmates, and more importantly, their families, friends, and communities across the world to share together these traditional moments. This Navy Memorial is a true national asset for our Navy. For my shipmates out there, please visit, sign into the log, and ensure your place in the history of our Navy is assured. What's also unique about this ceremony here today is that there's many more participants than we might have in the ceremony, say, in the conference room of the Pentagon. Many more civilians here today, and that's how it should be. Often the participation of such a ceremony is mostly military, and just our military families. I purposely wish to expand that today, and I firmly believe at my core that our military must truly be part of the fabric of our nation, not an institution unto itself. So today what you're going to see is several speakers talking about service and talking about what it means to be promoted. I will have a few words to say. You're also going to see a traditional swearing of an oath by my good friend, Bill Oslin. It's important we do that again. This will be the 8th time in my life since I first did this as a 17-year-old kid coming out of a small town in Michigan back in June of 1987 at the Naval Academy that I will have said these words, and you'll be witness to that today. Here today in nearly equal measures are my friends and colleagues from the most recent job I had at the Department of Energy. Thank you for all being here today. Personal friends and family, and Navy shipmates. I'm going to mention a few of you, and I probably will miss some, so bear with me. But first and foremost, I would like to thank my current boss, well, until yesterday, that is, the Honorable Dan Briette, Secretary of Energy. Thank you, sir, for being here today. I know Undersecretary Menzies is here as well, the Undersecretary of Energy. Thank you, sir. Also online from the UK, we have Dr. Paul Howarth, a friend of mine who's the CEO of the UK National Nuclear Lab. Thanks for being here. I'd like to thank Admiral Frank Caldwell, the Director of the Naval Nuclear Propulsion Program, and his deputy in particular, Mr. Steve Troutman. And Mr. Troutman's had a tremendous influence on me personally and professionally over the years, and I wouldn't be here were it not for him. There's also a number of our United States Marines here today, and I'm glad to have you. I think Lieutenant General George Smith is here today. Had the pleasure of working with General Smith for Secretary Mattis most recently. General Frank Donovan, a former boss of mine in the Middle East, a Navy man at heart if there ever were. Classmate and friend Bobby Shea. Colonel Chick Rideout, who is my counterpart on my most recent deployment. Colonel Jim McGrath, a mentor and friend over the years. And a number of my Marine colleagues and friends from the 3 deployments I did with the 2-4 Marine Expeditionary Unit. A number of classmates as well today here. Number of shipmates and shore mates. Just a couple I would like to mention. Master Chief Jesse Slothauer in Albuquerque. Thanks for being here today, Master Chief. My good friend Ken Riley, one of the best ship captains the Navy's ever made. Also have a number of our Mustangs here today online. Our Mustangs are our sailors who came up through the deck fleet and really run our Navy. Roger Samaro, Joel Lemanik, Brian Blankenship, Ray Atkins, Kevin Shannon, thanks for being here today. Master Chief Thames, thanks for being here as well. Finally, most importantly, my family. As Frank mentioned, my daughters, Natalie and Emily, are both here. Natalie is getting ready for her own virtual promotion, or her own virtual ceremony. She'll be graduating from Virginia Tech, magna cum laude, in a pre-med major in a couple weeks. My youngest daughter, Emily, is a rising senior and a wonderful young lady and student athlete, and proud they're both here today. My brothers and sisters, Larry, Lauren, Leslie, Lauren, Leanne, are all here today. The tongue twister, and my father in Michigan, as well as the extended West Coast clan. My father-in-law, retired bosun mate, Master Chief Jan Kopinski, in the clan out west. Thanks for being here. My wife, Marina, is here as well, and my future engineers, Charlie and Sam LeGree. You're gonna see them running around here. It's possible they'll steal the show, and they're gonna try to put my rank on later. So thanks to all those for being here today. Now we introduce our guest speaker, my friend and brother-in-arms, U.S. Army Colonel Oslin. Bill and I served together in Kunar Province, Afghanistan, 2007-2008. Bill enlisted in the Army in 1983, served as a Ranger. He was commissioned in 1990 out of the University of Nebraska as an infantry officer, then served in the 101st Airborne, 2nd Infantry Division in Korea, 1st Infantry Division, 173rd Airborne Brigade, Sky Soldiers, 75th Ranger Regiment, Strategic Command, Central Command, Special Operations Command. Bill served 7 combat tours, starting with leading a platoon in Desert Storm, parachuted into Iraq as an operations officer, commanded a battalion in Afghanistan that became the most decorated battalion in the global war on terror, twice commanded a counterterrorism task force in Afghanistan as well as a brigade in Afghanistan. Colonel Oslin recently retired out of West Point as Director of Military Instruction and transitioned from military service to Google, where he's currently the Global Security Manager for YouTube. I'm not alone, in my opinion, that Bill Oslin is one of, if not the finest fighting officer of our current generation. He's also a man of utter integrity and selfless service, which, by the way, are attributes required of our best combat leaders, and a friend through thick and thin, truly. It's my highest honor to have Bill speak today and promote me to Rear Admiral later in the ceremony. Thank you, Bill.
Larry, thank you for this incredible honor. It truly is an honor, and I welcome all of our guests and senior leaders. You know, Larry, I pondered why a retired Army colonel would be asked to promote an incredible Navy captain to Rear Admiral. And I really have no answer other than our friendship was forged in fire as we collectively took on impossible tasks at a critical time and were guided by the mantra, if it is possible, it has been done. If it is impossible, we'll do it. I will start with a few minute story of introduction, kind of an introduction of sorts, as to how Larry and I came to know each other. In 2007, our great nation was struggling in Afghanistan. A surge was proposed, and as the Army spun up additional ground forces, the CNO offered exceptional command tracked O5s to be Provisional Reconstruction Team or PRT commanders. In exchange for this year plus of ground combat service, the O5s would be joint qualified, buying back nearly 2 years of service time for the Navy. Larry was one such O5. When Larry joined the Army effort with a joint team of approximately 90 personnel, the Army rewarded him with command of the Kunar PRT. Now, Kunar province is the 7th smallest of 34 Afghan provinces and encompasses less than 1% of Afghanistan's landmass. It is about the size of Delaware. Kunar is remote, austere, undeveloped, and contested. It's located in very rugged mountainous terrain in the Hindu Kush Mountains adjacent to Pakistan, in a historic sanctuary occupied by several international extremist groups. Larry's PRT was located in the town of Asadabad in Kunar, and he was responsible for Kunar and a portion of Nuristan province to the north. During this same period, I commanded 2nd Battalion 503rd Infantry of the 173rd Airborne Brigade. This 1,100-person battalion was known as Task Force Rock. On very short notice, we deployed to Afghanistan in support of the surge. I arrived in Kunar province on 24 May and met Larry a few days later. At 1000 on 5 June, I assumed responsibility for Kunar and parts of Nuristan, known thereafter as Area of Operations Rock. Larry was there. 6 hours later, we had a significant engagement with the enemy, a TIC, or troops in contact. A-10s, AH-64s, artillery, mortars were employed. Infantrymen were maneuvering, grenades were thrown. A report of friendly casualties followed. 1 killed in action, 1 wounded in action. The fight continued. The casualties were medevaced, likely through Asadabad. I knew the killed in action personally. He was empirically our youngest paratrooper. He was our brigade command sergeant major's oldest son, Timothy Viamoto. That night, Larry called. I was the new commander, and Larry was there. On June 15th, I recorded in my journal. I met with Commander Larry LeGree, the PRT commander, and we agreed on nearly every priority in our way ahead. Larry, I'm not sure which priority we didn't agree on, but I'm sure you won out on that. On 30 June, my entry included, we left the governor's compound and returned to Asadabad to talk to Larry LeGree about projects, sync our ideas, and BS. In parens, I wrote, he's a great guy. Over the next 10 months, Larry and I spent incredible time together, coordinating efforts. We had helpful friends, province, district governors, police chiefs, Afghan National Army, Afghan Border Police, National Defense Services, CIA, who would forget Sundance? Special Forces, the Task Force, Brigade Headquarters, CJTF, PCC, 2 JTOCs, 2 media outlets, USDA, UNAMA, and others. We had enemies as well, some of the previously mentioned, in addition to international terrorist groups and local Taliban. We were grossly under-resourced, but together we gained and maintained freedom of action in areas that had never seen government agents or Afghan security forces, and were most feared to tread. We brought development to corners of a society that had never received anything from a central government and that historically subjugated themselves to the warlord who did them least harm. We routinely saw our service members hurt and killed, but fearlessly and consistently moved forward as they bettered the lot for nearly 500,000 Afghan people. Our honorable teams never lost faith. Continuous population-centric efforts were the norm, while complex enemy contact was routine. Our decisive operation was maintaining freedom of action, which facilitated security within the largest population centers. It allowed governance to connect to the population and enhanced economic development. Larry's lines of effort. This routinely put my 1,100-person task force in direct support of his actions. Because of Larry's efforts, we had governance and development projects in all 14 of the Kunar districts and in our 3 Nuristan districts. Larry was also responsible for 80% of our brigade's committed development dollars. To do this, we conducted nearly 9,500 patrols and had over 1,100 contacts with the enemy. That required 5,400 fire missions and 3,800 aerial deliveries. Again, in less than 1% of Afghanistan's geography, we consistently employed 70% of the ordnance in Afghanistan. We employed aircraft of all types, artillery, mortars, missiles, snipers, riflemen, hand grenades, in order to maintain freedom of action, move throughout the area, and protect our population, our Afghan partners, and our service members. We patrolled together, fought together, landed on roofs together, outsmarted friends and enemies together, laughed together, and remembered the fallen together. Our successes were many and have been chronicled in documentaries, books, magazines, and numerous articles. The successes came at a tragically high cost. In our effort to bring security and prosperity to Afghanistan, we lost 26 service members killed and had 143 wounded. Many Afghans appreciated our efforts. Some did not. But our teams never faltered, never gave ground, never lost faith in the people of Afghanistan or each other. We brought hope to people that sought security and prosperity, and we asked for nothing in return. And we brought chaos, misery, and death to those that sought to disrupt our efforts and harm our population. You know, many talk about being in the company of heroes. For a period, we truly were. 24 Medals of Honor have been awarded in nearly 20 years of the global war on terror. 18 in Afghanistan, 15 in Kunar and Nuristan, and 4 during the period we served in that area, along with 2 Distinguished Service Crosses, 27 Silver Stars, 400 other Valor's Awards, a Presidential Unit Citation, and a Valorous Unit Award. I shared a lot of my ramblings, and they could be those of a friend or a fan who wants to tell a war story one last time. For greater effect, I reached out to a boss Larry and I shared a couple of times, General Retired Joe Votel, former Ranger Regiment, JSOC, SOCOM, and CENTCOM commander. Larry and I knew him when he was an Army 1-star, our tactical commander in this fight. You know, General Votel quickly penned back the following. I was the Assistant Division Commander of the 82nd Airborne Division, which commanded Regional Command East and included Kunar Province in Afghanistan. Task Force Rock and the Kunar PRT were one. In the most contested province in Afghanistan at the time, the commanders, Bill Osland and Larry LeGree, had unparalleled optimism, synergy, and effects, despite fighting fiercely on a daily basis. They were a learning organization, 2 commanders who learned from each other at a very fast rate. When touring the area, I rarely saw one without the other. Together, they made the most contested piece of our planet a better place for the population they sought to protect. I do recall that on Asadabad grounds of the PRT, his team, Larry's team, had painted the gates navy steel gray and emblazoned them with the number of a ship he had previously commanded, which I thought was a pretty cool thing. It is a mark of a truly talented leader when he can adapt to the environment in which he finds himself and not only thrive, but really move the ball forward. Larry did that. I was so impressed with him from the first day we met. He would have made a great Ranger. My congratulations to Larry and his family. The Navy has selected an incredible flag. I must mention, in this most contested province is where I also met Marina, another incredible teammate who was invaluable to our collective effort as well. She has more time in Afghanistan than most infantrymen and has delivered more effects than most infantry brigades. Larry and Marina, thanks for being there. Remember, what we do in life echoes in eternity. Your echoes are impressive and will continue for quite some time. Congratulations, my friend.
Bill, thank you so much for those words. I can't believe that I'm now about to introduce yet another former Army man as part of a Navy promotion ceremony. But I would now like to introduce the Secretary of Energy, my boss, Dan Briette. Sir, I'd like to say with true pleasure, it's been your utter professional, and it's been a graduate level education for me to watch firsthand how you drive change and have kept a steady hand at the Department of Energy and lead at this level.
Hi, I'm Dan Briette, Secretary of the U.S. Department of Energy. It's a privilege for me to be a small part of today's ceremony, a very important ceremony. Larry LeGree has been my National Security Advisor for the last year. And for those of you who may be wondering, why is Larry at the Department of Energy? I just want to take a second and tell you where we fit into the national security apparatus of the United States. The Department of Energy manages the nuclear weapons stockpile, and Larry's background as an officer, a Navy nuke officer, was absolutely key to me over the last year or so. You know, I'm an Army guy, so nuclear things are a bit foreign to me. And never in my wildest dreams as a young tank commander, young enlisted guy, could I ever imagine having the opportunity to work with many of the flag officers that we do so today, some of whom are part of this ceremony. Admiral Frank Caldwell in particular, General Rich Clark down at SOCOM, and now Admiral Larry LeGree. Congratulations, Larry and Marina. Fair winds to you. And Charlie and Sam, I'll keep counting those trains while you travel with Mom and Dad. Come back and see me when you get back from Naples. Take care.
Thanks, boss. Finally, it's now my pleasure to introduce the Director of the Naval Nuclear Propulsion Program, Admiral Frank Caldwell. Naval Reactors is an organization that stands the test of time for excellence. An organization from which every single high standard of nuclear safety, technical design, and operational excellence is benchmarked literally in the entire world.
Hooyah, everybody. I'm Admiral Frank Caldwell, the Director of Naval Reactors, and it is an absolute honor to take part in this ceremony where we will promote Larry LeGree to Rear Admiral, United States Navy. Larry, congratulations to you and your family. No officer achieves this milestone without the tremendous support of family, friends, and shipmates. And so today is as much about recognizing their sacrifices, contributions, and their service to the nation as it is recognizing your service. Larry, as I reviewed your career, I think this promotion is very well deserved. 3 things come to mind. First off, you've always taken on the toughest assignments, from multiple sea tours to the agreement to go downrange and serve in the War on Terror in Afghanistan, to taking on the role of Chief Engineer on Enterprise and taking that ship on her final deployment. Your contributions just helped us knock it out of the park, did an amazing job there. Larry, you've also had great success at multiple levels of command, including leading the provincial reconstruction team in Kunar province. That isn't a job with just an enormous range of responsibility and challenges. You also took Mesa Verde on her first deployment and set the tone for that ship for the rest of her life. And then you led the Bataan ARG as the Commodore of Amphibious Squadron 8, another job with just a wide range of responsibility. Throughout your career, Larry, you've had an impact not only on the Navy, but also the Navy Nuclear Propulsion Program, the Department of Defense, and more recently, the Department of Energy. So well done, and congratulations again on flag rank. Larry, when you lead at flag rank, I want you to keep a few things in mind. First off, it is a great milestone and something that you ought to be very, very proud of. But truly, the last promotion that you really earn is that promotion to 06 or Navy captain. For every officer that gets selected for flag, there are 3, 4, or maybe 5 or more officers that are fully qualified and just did not get selected. That fact alone ought to serve as motivation to always lead with humility. Leading at the flag level means leading at the top. Frequently, there's no one above you to make the decision, and the buck really does stop with you. Things happen quickly, but it is rewarding and exhilarating for not only you, but for your family and friends. And at the end of the day, you never know where you're going to end up. So Larry, make the most of it. Congratulations and welcome to the flag wardroom. Larry, my final order of business is to present you with your end of tour award. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a Legion of Merit, and it is very well deserved. If you would please, attention to orders. The President of the United States takes pleasure in presenting the Legion of Merit Gold Star in lieu of second award to Captain Lawrence LeGree, United States Navy, for service as set forth in the following citation: for exceptionally meritorious conduct in the performance of outstanding service as military assistant and senior advisor to the Deputy Secretary of Energy and the Secretary of Energy from January 2019 to April 2020. Displaying exceptional facility in national security and interagency forums, he proved to be highly effective working across the U.S. interagency at the pinnacle of our nation's national security decision-making processes. He provided subject matter expertise, advice, and guidance on complex, highly technical matters related to nuclear power, nuclear weapons, nuclear propulsion, national defense, critical infrastructure, cyber effects and vulnerabilities, emergency preparedness, and response. He served as a core member of a high-level council and working group representing the Secretary of Energy, designed to build, expand, and leverage strategic partnerships throughout the Department of Energy and the U.S. interagency. By his exceptional professionalism, initiative, and loyal dedication to duty, Captain LeGree reflected great credit upon himself and upheld the highest traditions of the United States Naval Service. For the President, J.F. Caldwell, Jr., Admiral, United States Navy. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the award. Larry, this is very well deserved. Congratulations to you again on the award and also on your promotion to Rear Admiral. I'm really proud of you, and I look forward to serving with you in the flag wardroom. Thanks, everybody. And before I sign off, beat Army.
The President of the United States has reposed special trust and confidence in the patriotism, valor, fidelity, and abilities. In view of these qualities, your demonstrated potential for increased responsibility, and in accordance with the authority vested in the Chief of Naval Operations, you are hereby authorized to assume the title and wear the uniform of a Rear Admiral, lower half, U.S. Navy, effective 24 April 2020. Shipmate, I believe you are now out of uniform. Please fix yourself, kind sir. Much better, much better. Shipmate, please raise your starboard hand and repeat after me. I state your name, do solemnly swear
I, Larry LeGree, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties on which I am about to enter.
that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties on which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce Rear Admiral Larry LeGree. Congratulations, my friend.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate that so much. And thanks for going with the starboard there. You know, during my first really intense firefight in Afghanistan, being a good Navy nuke, I always wanted to do a good after-action report and critique, make sure we can improve and correct any behaviors. And I had a number of my Army NCOs ask me what starboard was. Evidently, I decided to call in fires from the starboard beam. So I'm really happy anytime a soldier like Bill gets to talk like a sailor. Really appreciate many of the nice things these gentlemen said about me. I'm honored and I'm completely mindful of Admiral Caldwell's admonition about humble service. Fortunately, I've got my family for that. Coming from the Department of Energy, I want to briefly talk about what a wonderful opportunity that was for me. The work going on at the Department of Energy is frankly amazing. It's the kind of work that underwrites our way of life and is writing the book of the American future. I'd like to thank a number of my colleagues and friends for allowing me to be part of such a high-performing team. The front office, first and foremost, Chief of Staff Jim Colgery, Toy Melissa, Alexa, Emily, Allie, Dr. Ben Renke, Matt and Noel. Many others throughout the building, the NNSA team, the folks on the nuclear engineering team, and the team down in the IOC, who I know has me up on a big screen right now, keeps the watch 24/7. Keep up the great work, DOE. I've learned that it's nice to have a good boss on a good day, and it's more important to have a good boss on a bad day. There are a number of influential naval officers here today that I would like to acknowledge. Captain Derek Kemp, Captain Bob O'Donnell, General Frank Donovan, Rear Admiral Cindy Tabo, Captain Mike McMillan, my friends Commander Todd Wobig, Captain Kirk Weatherly, Captain Brent Tyler, and I mentioned previously my good friend and brother, Colonel Chick Ryda. A number of my peers watching today who would do exactly what I'm about to do and better. Dave Galuzian, Juan Orozco, Hank Adams, fellowship captains and confidants. I count myself fortunate to serve with mariners and officers of your quality. My desire for saying a few words today is to have a conversation about service and where I come at this idea from. As I speak, there are thousands of sailors and Marines and soldiers on mission, on the seas, on the land, and here at home on the front lines of this coronavirus crisis. We're operating forward on 91 ships, including 3 aircraft carriers and 2 big deck amphibious ships today. We have Seabees converting commercial buildings into medical facilities across 6 states. 3,000 Navy doctors, nurses, and corpsmen, including hundreds of reservists, are caring for our fellow Americans across the nation, from New York to Dallas to New Orleans. America has a great naval force, sailors and Marines alike. Now, I am rooted in the expeditionary forces, the amphibious ships of our Navy, when I'm not busy being a nuke. So I would like just to take a few minutes to talk about my commitment to the expeditionary forces, to our United States Marine Corps. Marines, I know you, I've served with you, I've fought with you. I will be your advocate and ally inside our Navy, and I'll continue to work to advance the integration of the Blue-Green team. We're better together. And for our nuclear Navy, thank you for letting me serve not just once, but 3 times on the USS Enterprise, that mighty and complex warship, on 3 separate combat deployments. It was one of the great honors of my professional life to be on duty as the engineering officer of the watch on the middle of the night on 7 October 2001. That's the night that we launched the initial strikes into Afghanistan following 9/11. While I had no idea at the time what a cardinal part of my life Afghanistan would become, it was a professional highlight to be part of these initial strikes. not for the violence incurred, but for being part of the moment when our nation needed to move from warning to action. Our nuclear Navy truly also stands to watch not just the sailors and officers at sea today, but the dedicated professionals at the national labs, the maintenance facilities, the shipyards, and the headquarters, where the immeasurable but critical commodity of excellence is just sacrosanct. I do suspect I'm the first nuclear qualified officer selected for flag to fail not once but 2 interviews at naval reactors, and Mr. Troutman's likely shaking his head up right now. But I will also ensure that if a task is worth doing, it's worth doing right. That's what my nuclear Navy has taught me. So that's where I come from and my orientation in this Navy. But this is a higher order discussion here today, just with this broader audience. I want to talk about service and the extraordinary things that ordinary people around us do here every day. There are people in this audience who are serving in their own unheralded, understated ways, the quiet people in the back of the room who carry the day. These are my kind of people. Those who carry on with no thought of self-promotion, no need for recognition, those who serve quietly. Here's just a few of them. My wife, Marina, the love of my life, my muse, my best friend. Marina spent her entire adult life working with young women and girls in Afghanistan. She's taken on the hardest problems there, the plight of young women, and is part of a movement of grassroots social change that is simply amazing to see. If you want to change the future, you have to start with those who are going to be living in it. She's that person. Also, a different kind of service. My baby sister, Leanne, who right now watches over a group of our older citizens, perhaps frightened and certainly vulnerable, in a nursing home back in our small hometown of Big Rapids, Michigan. She serves with empathy and kindness. Mark Rosecki, Rosie, a shoremate from Afghanistan. Not only was he fearless under fire, one of those warriors who was at his best when things were at their worst, but Rosie was almost single-handedly responsible for developing a counter-IED technology that not only kept us safe, but was exported all across Afghanistan into Iraq when we were losing hundreds due to IEDs. He saved untold lives. It allowed my friend Bill Ostine to counter targeted insurgents to their great detriment in places like the Cornwall Valley. And it was one of my proudest moments to see the Secretary of the Navy conduct a meritorious field advancement for this man. Now today, if you want to rob a liquor store or speed in Cocoa Beach, Florida, I'll give you his number for your get-out-free jail card. Rosie is now a deputy sheriff serving the public in that regard. Also serving in a different way, a young vice president at J.P. Morgan Chase, a fellow Navy nuke and former shipmate, Miss Sarah Kuehl, whose office is literally 2 blocks from here at the Navy Memorial downtown. Now a lieutenant commander in the Navy Reserves, then a junior officer not too far removed from the Naval Academy, Sarah once saved my ship. Not through a single heroic act, but through the diligence and attention to detail that meant she knew her job cold when it mattered and acted without hesitation. Sarah's now active as participant in the veteran service organizations here in the Washington, D.C. area and with her company, still serving. Another one, my friend and classmate, Chris Barnett, understated in every way. Barnes transferred to the Air Force after a couple tours in the Navy because he wasn't handsome enough for our Navy uniforms. And I remember among the all-state athletes and perfect SAT scores, that is the makeup of the student body in Annapolis, Barnes claimed the only thing he'd ever won was the contest for the pet owner who most resembles his dog. That case was the mangy pit bull, I seem to remember. Now Barnes would be the absolute last one to tell you about this, but this warrior was awarded not 1, but 2 silver stars to go with his Bronze Star as a PAPOC helicopter pilot in Afghanistan. Awards submitted at the behest of the Green Berets and others whose lives he saved, and for ridiculous acts of combat airmanship that the Air Force is talking about. I don't use the word heroic lightly, but Barnes is all of that. Thanks for being here today, Barnes. From the Department of Energy, Sarah Nelson, a colleague who works in our Inspector General's office. Many of you don't know this. Her son, Andrew, is a young sailor in our naval forces. He's an E3. Serves on board of one of our frontline ships, the Wayne E. Meyer, and they just completed their first deployment, his first deployment in the Western Pacific. Andrew serves as the ship's search and rescue swimmer, and that's a really important job in the Navy. He's the guy who fishes us out if we go overboard. Like any mom, Sarah, you're probably worried about his safety, his future, his career, but I suspect you've now learned that there are few finer places for a young man or woman to chart the course of their own service. And finally, my college roommate, Captain Dave Galuzian. I think Dave is the toughest, most disciplined and resilient person I've ever known. A man who outstubborned cancer, took all the hard jobs in the Navy to become one of our most successful ship captains. And you know where Dave is this very day, right now. He's in New York City. With only a single day of notice, he was asked to drop everything and get up to New York and lead a bunch of our Navy efforts to help the citizens of New York fight this virus. So he did. A man with his own compromised immune system didn't hesitate. He saluted, moved out, and he's today serving on the front line against his current enemy in New York City. These are just a few examples of many who walk among us right here. I hope you see now why I'm truly humbled today. We are an extraordinary nation of extraordinary people. So those who know me know I'm a reader. My father and brothers and sisters will tell you I grew up with a book in my face. I read the entire C.S. Forester series, the Horatio Humboldt books, about a dozen times. And for some reason, my 12-year-old self decided I was going to be a ship captain someday. I only applied to one college, Annapolis, and to my great and never-ending surprise, it ended up working out. One of my officers recently invited me to speak at his change of command, and he joked by introducing me that the only thing on my LinkedIn profile were the word ship captain. That's true. That's how I identify. I'm a ship captain, I'm a father, and I'm a husband. I've served on just about every kind of ship. I've sailed the 7 seas, I've seen the world. I've commanded on land and at sea in the crucible of combat, where you see people at their best and at their worst. And what you learn what real character, strength, and courage means. And those commodities will often come at you from unexpected directions. So I count myself fortunate, and I hold no higher aspiration than to do my best to continue to serve this nation of ours. And I think right now, today, our nation is getting a first-hand primer that's just not the military and men and women in uniform who serve. I hope this what we're going through, I hope this keeps us grounded, united as a nation in focus, and with an understanding that we have to serve not only with strength and determination, but with kindness and empathy. Marina, Charlie, and Sam and I will be heading to Naples, Italy in the next few weeks. There I'll once again have a chance to serve. I'll be the J3, Director of Operations for the NATO Southern Command. We're very excited to move there. And I want to once again thank all the participants today. I'd like to particularly thank the staff and leadership of the Navy Memorial for hosting this wonderful ceremony. I would like to thank my friend Bill Oslin for promoting me today. And I would finally like to once again publicly thank my family for their support. Stay safe. Go Navy.
So thank you all for joining us today for this first ever virtual promotion ceremony. So there's been a little bit of glitches, but besides the glitches, I think we all agree that the reason that Larry's voice was so low is he's such a quiet and mellow and understated individual who he just never wants to be heard. Okay, well, maybe that was spin or an excuse. So we apologize for the volume. I have to tell you, the road on Pennsylvania Avenue, the buses come by, and I have to tell you that the complexity of this and watching it happen and watch Larry put on Rear Admiral, it's truly been an honor of my life. It wasn't easy. The team pulled this off in about a week, and I really want to thank retired Navy Captain Frank Michael, our new Executive Vice President here at the Navy Memorial, and our technology genius, Colin Masso. Colin's about 15 feet that way. Captain Michael's about 25, 30 feet that way. And two other volunteers, that came to help us, Tanya Coogan and Dr. Michael Totnetti, got it right, who rose up, and literally they pulled this off in the last week. And so we've had people down at the Navy Yard, behind secure fences, at the Energy Department, and who knew we'd have an Army Colonel in California at a Navy Admiral's promotion ceremony. So this has really been a tremendous opportunity for all of us to share this with you, Larry. And again, I guess I want to conclude by saying congratulations to Larry, to Marina. We know it takes two to make this happen, and we know they're by each other's side. And it really, truly has been an honor to be a part of this with you. So I would ask everybody, if we were all together, we all know we'd raise a glass of scotch for Larry, maybe Lefroy, maybe something else. But we raise a glass of scotch. So while we're separated in this difficult time, I think I would ask everybody to take a moment and raise a glass at home to Larry for his service, for his sacrifice, and for his commitment to our country and his continued leadership in the United States Navy. Thank you very much for joining us, and have a great afternoon.